Hey guys, it's me, and welcome back to Liam Does Programming. This is my first video on this channel, so hopefully you enjoy. Today we are going to be working on a button system for Game Maker, or in Game Maker. So this is what we will be making. We have our play buttons, and it scales to where it's meant to be. As you see, we can press back and lots fancy stuff. If you click the little one works, the big one takes us back, the medium does that. So it's basically a working, functioning button system. So I'm going to show you how to make this. Okay, first things first, we need 3 sprites. One for the large button, mine's 280 by 80. We need the medium button, mine is 140 by 40. We need a small button, mine is 70 by 20. Okay, now we have our sprites done. We need to make 3 fonts, one for the small, one for the big, one for the medium. I have 6, 12, and 24 as those fonts. And quickly, I have this script just so I can reset all the draw things back to default quickly. So if you want to have that script in your projects, you can use it. And I also have 2 rooms, so to show the buttons work. So quickly I make this red to make sure things. Okay, first off we need to make a script. This will be button hover. So basically it tells us if the button's hovering. So this will either return true or false. If I can type. So it will either return true or false. What we're going to do is give it a variable. So the variable will be equal to button hover. So what we're going to do is make a variable equal to the script. So that's what that's going to do is, if this returns true, then hover will be true. If it returns false, hover will be false. If you understand that. So what we want to do is, if we are touching the button, so if we are hovering on the button, position meaning X, Y, and self. So if the mouse is hovering, it should be mouse X and Y. So if we are hovering over the button, they return true. So basically, if we're touching the if we're touching the button, it returns true. If we're not touching the button, it returns false. Simple as that. Now you're probably thinking, well Liam, we want us to change sprites, so we want to go from not being hovered to hovered. So a simple explanation is that we have 2 sprites in each of them. We have hovered, not being hovered, being hovered over. So it'd be like, if a mouse is over here, it looks like this. If a mouse touch it, it looks like this. You understand. So we have 2 sprites for that, 2 sub images. 0 is not being hovered, 1's being hovered over. So let's do this. Change sprite. So we want to change the sprite image index equals 1. So that means we're being hovered. Change sprite image index 0. So it makes the sprite back to its normal, not being hovered. Now we have the button hover. We're going to do a new script. We're just going to duplicate this script. Call this button pressed. So if you're clicking the button, so if you click the button, pressed equal true. If we're not clicking the button, it will return false. If you understand. So we want to change the name quickly. If we're touching the button, now we want to get rid of this. We want to go if mouse button, if mouse check button, I think it is check button pressed and be left true. And basically what this does, it checks, are we touching the button? If we are, it checks if we are clicking the mouse button, and if we are touching and clicking the mouse button, then return true. Else, just return false. Yeah, pretty simple. Okay. Now what we want to do is make a new object. By clicking this button up here, or just right clicking and click create new object. obj button parent. So we want to give this a sprite, or just a button, I guess. Then what we want to do is create a few variables. Title. So this is what the button's going to say on it. And then title offset equals 0. This is something I will be doing soon. I'm going to show you how to use this variable, what it does. Pressed equals false. We might do hover as well. We don't need these here, but just in case you want to access them from another object, we need those there. Okay, so if you have step event, check some code in. We want to check pressed equals button pressed. So if you're pressing the button, then this returns true. If you're not, this returns false. Then we need hover equals button hover. So if we're being hovered over, it returns true. If we're not being hovered over, it returns false. If pressed, and then actions. Variable checks. Okay, the last thing we need to do is in the draw event, we want to do draw self, draw set v align, h align first, fa center, draw set v align, fa center, should be middle. So draw self, change draw variables. So this is just horizontal align and vertical align. So vertical align, it tells us where we want it to draw. So that's the thingy, what's it called? The anchor point of where the text is gonna be. Same with H align. It just anchors the points. So our point is gonna be directly in the center. We're going to do draw text x, y, title, x plus title offset, no, it's plus hover times hover offset. I think that's it. Then we're going to draw set, draw set color C white. If this function doesn't work for you, simply just do color if you really have to. Draw set defaults. I've got set. This is not an inbuilt function. It's a script I just wrote, I mentioned in the beginning, which is this. So you might want to copy that down, or just copy and paste that over here. Now, next thing we want to do is draw text. Okay, now what we want to do is something we call a switch statement. Switch image, no, Sprite index. So this is basically just a giant if statement. So if it's SBR button small break. We need this break here. Make sure make sure this thing is at the end. So this is basically like if statement. So if Sprite index, so SBR button small, do whatever is in here. But we don't we could do three giant ifs, three long if statements, saying if it's, just a button, if it's large, just changes in here. But I like switch statements because they just look a lot cleaner and they seem a lot easier to read. So I'm going to copy this 3 times, make one for button large. If you so wish, you can use the if statements, but I prefer switch statements. So if you are new to Game Maker, I recommend just following along with the tutorial. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it to our medium, a button medium, which mine is 12, and a button large, mine is 24. Now title offset, we can change that by just doing that. Personally, I've messed around with these variables a bit to make them look a bit nice, but of course you can keep them the same or just mess around with your font to see if they look nice with the thing. If you understand that, I meant. And here, change variables. Now, you have a button all done. You should probably comment all our code, because it's very useful to comment your code so you know what's happening. Main step, I guess. There's nothing else to call it. Draw. Okay. Button stuff. Okay, so if you have 3 forward slashes, it will make it the title. So as you see, it changes from execute a piece of code into button stuff, as if you have 3 forward slashes. That's just something I should have mentioned while I was doing it, but don't know. So now that we have our button done, all we want to do is make a new button object. obj button small. So make this small. Parent. Make it the button parent. The title will be small. Then we want to just call event so it inherits it. Then we want to have a step event, inherit it again, if pressed. So if we're being pressed, what we want to do is room, go to I am next. So this is what's going to happen in the button, so actions. So that's the button done basically, so now it should work. Now we can do button medium, subtitle, and here we just do the same thing. Okay, button medium. Okay, obj button large. Make this the large sprite, and this is going to say large. Just to show you it works. And then we have one more button for button back, just decimal. Button back. The title would just be back. Simple. Now we go into rooms with room start. We have a small, but we will put a small button, a medium button, and a large button. And back we will just put our button back. If we run the game, our button system should be fully functional. Otherwise, we will fix it. Okay, so small takes us to back, so it seems to be working. So back doesn't do anything because we've got to tell it to go to room start. Oops. Okay, so yeah, our small takes us to here, back takes us back. So as you see, it all works nicely. With only 3 sprites, you can have buttons that say anything on them. So that's pretty cool. As you see, the buttons work perfectly. There's something you will want to have in your game. And remember, you can always change the sprites to whatever you want them to be. The project file will be in the description below. for you lazy people who can't type out code. That wasn't meant to be an insult, but yeah, I guess if you can't understand this, or you know, you made a mistake and you can't follow it, go compare your code with the project files and just see, you know, what you've done wrong and fix it. But make sure you know what you're typing, because there's no point in downloading a file and making a game if you don't know what you're typing. Like if you typed a piece of code, you didn't know what it did, how can you put that into another project? So what I'm trying to emphasize here is, don't just download projects, actually learn from them. So that's about it, all I wanted to say. So I see you next time at Leander's Programming, and that's it. Bye.